Excellent. I think we're on. So hello, everybody, and welcome to our very first Nutrition and Nurture Live with all of us here. We're very, very excited this evening. And welcome to Breastfeeding Celebration Week as well. So lots to celebrate this week, lots to talk about. So my name's Clare Watson. I'm one of the IBCLCs at Nutrition and Nurture. And these are my colleagues.
Hello, hi everybody. I'm Laura Evans. I'm a health visitor, registered nurse and a lactation consultant with Nutrition and Nurture.
Hello everybody, I'm Zurina Ali, one of the other IBCLC, and yeah, it's great to be here together.
I know, it's so lovely.
It is. It's the first virtual meeting that we've done, isn't it? So it's really exciting. We've not managed actually to get together in person, Zurina and myself, yet. So it's really good to actually do this live, our first meeting.
Yeah.
So yeah. So there's loads going on, isn't there, for Breastfeeding Celebration Week? It's really exciting. Lots of it's volunteer week as well.
Yes. We'll be sharing loads of posts this week about different things that people are doing across the country in terms of volunteering and supporting. And I know all three of us have volunteered and still do various volunteering roles, either directly support or with organizations around the world actually.
Yeah,
Definitely.
So that's really a good week to celebrate all of us who are doing in any capacity that we are able to do during this supporting moms during the pandemic. So I'm really excited to share.
So tonight we are going to talk about breastfeeding older babies. So we're talking sort of 6 months plus, over a year, over 2 years, however long you continue feeding for. And I suppose that's the first thing to talk about, isn't it? So how long do you breastfeed for?
That's it. We do get asked that quite a lot, because I think people see the Department of Health guidelines to breastfeed for 6 months and then part of a mixed diet, but people see 6 months and people think that's the recommendation, 6 months.
I thought that was when you stopped. I thought that was it then. I have to I'll be really honest.
Because it's not really, people do think, oh right, okay, they see the 6 months, but actually it's 6 months and then continue after you've started introducing solid food, isn't it? So, but I think people do sort of hone in on the 6 months really. Yeah,
I think moms sometimes wonder whether the 6 months is the cut-off point, and then what to do, and then get really anxious that okay, I'm still breastfeeding, and how to do the other bits.
That's it. It goes past 6 months and they're like, oh, some mums are like, oh, I was supposed to stop now, what do we do? Do we carry on? And is it is it right to carry on? Worrying about sort of what the guidelines are and things like that. But
so the World Health Organization guidelines are to exclusively breastfeed for the first 6 months, and then to continue to breastfeed alongside introducing solids, and to continue for 2 years and beyond. So
and I think also the sort of 2 years, sometimes people think, oh, I could never breastfeed for 2 years, I was only ever going to do a week, or I would never even see myself breastfeeding for 2 years. But actually quite a lot of people do continue into toddlerhood, and it's that real special relationship really. But again, I guess you get to 6 months, okay, is it time to stop now? Or maybe 1, because after 1 they can have full fat cow's milk as a drink, and people think, well, do they really need the breast milk then? They can have cow's milk, but why do I need to continue to breastfeed? And then the longer it goes on, sometimes people are like, well, you know what, I'm just going to carry on and just allow them to their children just to naturally wean off the breast themselves. Or sometimes we need to support mothers when they get to a point when they've decided
they want to
end the journey, or sometimes the child does. So
yeah, there's a whole variety, isn't there? And what's the religious implications with this, Zurina?
Yeah, I think for as a Muslim, because and in Islam, breastfeeding for 2 years is already stated in the Quran, and then I think sometimes moms feel pressured to say that, oh, I have to do this for up to 2 years. But obviously, there's also moms should remember that in Islam, that is the guidelines, like the guideline of the WHO. So it depends individual family how they want to continue the breastfeeding relationship. So it is preferable if they want to complete the 2 years, but it's not like you have to do it. If not, then you are not following the religion or things like that.
Okay.
So I think that is to have that is reassuring for moms.
Definitely. You don't want to feel like you're doing something really bad if you're both ready to stop.
Yes. Or if breastfeeding relationship not going as planned, and then obviously having not to think that you are make you feel guilty for not fulfilling one of your you think that is religious as part of religious duty.
Because it is a relationship, isn't it? And I think especially as the baby gets older, it's very much a negotiation between you.
Yes,
definitely.
And then and I think it's in the family situation as well. It's in Islam it says that the father is responsible to provide for the mother. And for the mother who are obviously who are feeding at if we were looking at the 2 years feeding, so that is reassuring for to know that as from a religious point of view.
So is it like sort of mothering the mother? Somebody, it's actually written down that mum should get looked after, which is really important, isn't it? Because I think that gets forgotten sometimes, doesn't it, with breastfeeding? You've got to look after mum.
Everybody's important in the relationship, aren't they?
Exactly. So
I think it's quite common for new mums to be quite intimidated, isn't it, by this thinking about feeding for such a long time. So I don't think there are many new mums that come into it intending to feed into toddlerhood. I know, for me, well, as I said, I thought you finished at 6 months, but then you kind of get to that point and you kind of go, well, it's still a tiny baby. And they don't take on board many solids to start with. I can see now how it needs to carry on. And then you think, oh, well, at around about a year, then that'll be it then. And then you get to a year and you kind of look at them and go, no, you're still so small, you still need my support. I can see you still need it. And then it's just at a certain point I found that it was easier just to carry on than to start. Right? It's such a parenting tool. I didn't want to learn another tool.
Exactly. My youngest is 15 months now, and I often wonder how I would actually mother without breastfeeding. If he falls down, I'll pick him up and pop him on the breast. He's teething at the minute, so he wants to feed more often. It's hot outside, we're together more because I'm working from home, so there's lots of components really. And I think
how are you coping with that, Laura? With it, because it can be really, I've heard a lot of people talking about how intense the relationship is in lockdown.
I think it definitely does intensify the relationship because you're together more than you would have been if you were going to the office. So it can be quite challenging. I've actually started taking myself out of the house, and that's where I am now, to Caravan HQ, and that's where I do my work. So I think I had to do that because actually it was he just wanted to be fed all the time, which is absolutely fine. You've not got to do work alongside it. But I think in the pandemic, families, you know, the dynamics changed. Maybe dad or partner is working from home or has been furloughed or something. So what I'm noticing is that, you know, family dynamics are really changing. And actually some mothers report that it's been quite useful, and they felt quite supported because their partner is with them at home. Whereas others, you know, there's lots of different sort of stories really. Some are positive and some are like, you know, this is really difficult. I'm really struggling with this. Yeah.
Well, it is an incredibly stressful time, and I think as adults we're all finding it like such a roller coaster, and so difficult at times and then okay at others. So I suppose it's natural that the children are going to be experiencing the same, and when they feel insecure and worried about things, they turn to their safe place.
Who are us? Yes. And I think, you know, it can get quite draining, actually, being totally honest, when your toddler wants to be fed all the time, and you know, I'll admit that sometimes it's like, again, but I think because we're spending more time together, and what I'm starting to do is try and, obviously I've taken myself away a little bit from the house, so I'm not as available, but those sort of, I mean, he's only 15 months, so he's not quite there with the understanding. But, you know, our relationship is obviously so strong. But sometimes I do have to say, Mummy's just going to do this. And then, you know, and start sort of laying that foundation that, okay, yeah, in a minute, 1 minute, and then we'll sit down. And it's so lovely, especially at the end of the day when I have been working, to actually come back and, you know, reconnect at the end of the day, and to just have a lovely cuddle and a feed. And it's just really...
But it's normal, isn't it, to feel all of those emotions? So to love the closeness at times, and then at other times to just go, no, just stop touching me.
Yeah, sometimes you're just like, I just need a minute, especially at 3 o'clock in the morning. With the toddler manners, you know, climbing.
I think it's noticing, accepting that, you know, breastfeeding in toddlerhood, not just the nutrition, it's the closeness, it's the bonding.
And then, definitely. It's that relationship.
Yes, the relationship. I think it's in many of the Asian family live in the multi-generational household, and I think it can be challenging and as well as rewarding as well, because you can pass your toddler to somebody else if you need some space. So, and especially you know, in the time where in the pandemic, that some family who don't have that support, I think is acknowledging the support from the extended family who live within the household would be very, very useful.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's what people are struggling. Yeah, they're struggling with that. I can see. I think that's great. You know, that support that you would get in your household. And I think because family networks, because people haven't been able to access their normal route of family support, you know, it might be their mum or their sister or whatever, you know, coming together to support them. I think people have really struggled with that. And now the lockdown's easing a little bit, I think people are just so desperate to build, you know, those networks of support, because you know, what do they say, it takes a village, is it, to raise a child?
Yes.
Definitely. And it is okay in those difficult times to start to look at boundaries, isn't it?
Definitely.
To keep everybody happy. You can look at starting to introduce what we call, you know, I hate the phrase, but toddler manners, when the older babies are feeding, and say, no, not like that. I'm not happy for you to swing from a lampshade and feed at the same time.
You pull my nipple.
Yeah, exactly.
I know.
Definitely. Definitely. I think, you know, you can still be gentle and set those barriers, but I think you do need to do that at some point, because not all toddlers, but I mean, all my children that I've fed have been different, different personalities. So, but I think sometimes people just get to the end of the tether, and sometimes putting a few boundaries in place actually allows them to carry on breastfeeding as long as they like, because they don't feel so, such an aversion. So I think it's a really good idea, to put in some boundaries and some manners. Yeah, definitely.
And if you are experiencing that kind of aversion and kind of anxiety and misery when they latch on, some people really experience very strong emotions and feelings. There's some really good resources out there. There's the breastfeeding aversion Facebook page. I can't remember exactly what it's called, but we'll try and find a link and pop
the link on.
So that's really good. So talking about returning to work, I think that's a time that a lot of families get quite anxious about and want to prepare for. I know that I get a lot of questions in groups about, okay, how do I introduce a bottle at this stage, because and how do I stop breastfeeding because I'm going back to work next week? So does going back to work mean you have to stop?
Absolutely.
I agree.
Absolutely not. I get those questions as well. I'm sure Zurina does as well.
Yes, it's same. Because sometimes moms are worried. Even from the beginning, say how if I establish breastfeeding now and then I need to go to work, I don't know how I will manage this. So I got a lot of questions like that.
It does cause a lot of anxiety for parents, doesn't it? Because they think, I've got this, you've set up this beautiful relationship, and then often people think, well, I'm going back to work at 9 months or 12 months, and then they're trying to undo in a way, and it's like, how do I stop? Do I stop abruptly? Can I carry on? There's loads of questions. What's my employer going to say? Sometimes, do I want to tell them I'm still breastfeeding at 1? Because sometimes the attitudes, that sometimes people can face. So I think what I always really like to do is to sort of try and find out how you can make breastfeeding work and go to work. So looking, I guess, what their job is, what their shifts might be, obviously how old their baby is, because like Claire said, sometimes people are desperately trying to introduce a bottle to a 9-month-old baby, when in fact, they can just have a cup, and they can have a cup with water in and food when you're not available, and then when you are available, you can continue that breastfeeding relationship. Like I said, it's that reconnection. It's really lovely.
But the babies are quite different, and your body's quite different by that age as well. So the babies are much more flexible. Your boobs are much more flexible.
They are, because people think, oh, my supply, I'm going to lose my supply. I wanted to carry on maybe, but can I just do a morning feed and an evening feed and maybe some in the night? People worry about that, but you absolutely can make it work. It's just a little bit of planning. So what job are you going back to? What are the hours? Definitely speak to your employer and explain that you're coming back to work and you're breastfeeding. And in fact, they should be really supportive of that, because that means that your child's going to be healthier. So the evidence suggests that your baby isn't going to have as many visits to the doctor or as many illnesses, and that in fact you'll be healthier as well. So there should be some sort of policy in place if you speak to your sort of human resources, and Maternity Action is actually a really good resource to have a look at, because that sort of details, I think there's some templates and things for letters, just explaining that you are coming back to work and you're breastfeeding, and how can they support you to do that, really. I don't know if you found that, Zurina, when people return to work, sort of, I think people worry about expressing in work as well.
And
whether they need to or not, you know, a bit an older baby, do they really need to, you know?
Yeah, and I found I normally suggest that if they are planning to go to work and then stay continuing with breastfeeding, find somebody who can kind of support in terms of what they experienced in the past as well. If they can find friends who can give moral support as well, and then I think having a supportive partner would be very useful, because then it's a different dynamic when you go to work, and then when you get back, the child wants you, and then they miss you so much, and then I think it's this closeness to not just feeding the milk, but it's the closeness that you were away and now you were there with them.
That's it, that reconnection, as soon as I come through the door at the minute, and you're like, oh, I had a long day at work, but it is so lovely that reconnection, at the end of the day.
Isn't it? Perfect. I'm sorry, can't cook the tea, I need to stay here.
I do use that one. Sorry, I've got to feed him. I've got to sit on the sofa for an hour now and chill. But what I found, I think, what I found on this breastfeeding journey and on my previous breastfeeding journeys is that when I have returned to work, sometimes the night sort of wakenings does increase, and they call it like reverse cycling, don't they? So your child, which isn't great really, but sometimes makes up for the lost breastfeeding in the day, in the night. But they're very clever. If that's what they need, then that's what they'll request. But I just think it's really, really a lovely thing to do, to carry on because of that relationship, really.
And it's not just the relationship, it's actually, there are nutritional and benefits beyond that as well. So I think because people say, breastfeed, if they can, a child can go on to cow's milk at 1. I think people think, well, what sort of nutrition are they getting from the breast milk? Do I have to give them cow's milk as well, or is it instead of, or because it's so, this is all the sort of literature that we read about sort of introducing solids, a lot of the literature does say, and at 1 you're going to move on to, you're going to have cow's milk. Sometimes it doesn't mention the fact that actually you can carry on breastfeeding, and does your child actually need cow's milk if you're breastfeeding? Cow's milk isn't necessary, is it? At that stage. It's, and the sort of, you're still, so their immune systems are still developing, aren't they? And they take years to fully establish, so we're still helping them along when they off to nursery and mixing with a lot more children a lot more closely. We're giving them some of our protection to help fight some of those bugs and bits and pieces. And a lot of the nutrition, the milk is the same stuff almost. It doesn't kind of magically, all of a sudden all the goodness is gone.
It does. It's people do think that, they think, oh, so what are the sort of benefits really of feeding a toddler? Are they, if they're eating a full diet, what are they actually getting? But in fact, we know that breast milk is still packed full of antivirals, vitamins, minerals, everything. And as Claire said, your immune system, it's still developing. And it's great to sort of support that really into toddlerhood, I think. And
they're still going through they're still going through growth spurts and developmental leaps, so they're still having really intense periods where they're learning something new, or they're doing a big period of growth, and they need that support. They need that closeness to you for that oxytocin to flow, to allow the brain development to happen, and that learning and things like that. So the stronger that we can make that attachment and that connection between you, the better it is for their emotional health long term as well. So making them feel so secure, and that they know they've got this really solid base they can always rely on and come back to, that sets them up for really good emotional health in the future.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think, especially just going back to what we were talking about before, in this pandemic, people are feeling really anxious, and it is a whole, you know, change of way of life for the children as well. You know, they might have gone to nursery and they're not going to nursery now. They might have seen people that they're not seeing now. Changing sort of parenting, there might be, you know, maybe dad or partners at home as well. So I think it's that security, isn't it, really? It's
so much going on.
Yeah,
so we
definitely.
talked about sorry,
yeah.
no, Zurina.
No, that's okay. I think it's the constant that probably having some, as you said, that one constant stage for them, that having mom, feeding from mom.
Yeah, that's the
definitely.
thing. So we touched earlier on this whole introducing a bottle malarkey, which again causes so much stress.
It does. Every, you know, I think several posts a week we get on our sort of peer support page, because people are so desperate sometimes to introduce a bottle, or they're going back to work and they think, how on earth am I going to feed my child milk, because they won't take a bottle. But
so
you don't it's considering the age really of the baby, and other means of giving them that milk, really.
So there's loads of different options on there. So for the young ones, you could be looking at syringes or cup feeding, you know, helping them to cup feed, using the breast supplement, all sorts of ways as they're younger. And we know that the guidelines in the UK are definitely that you should be starting to get rid of bottles certainly by 12 months. So if you've got to 6 or 7 months without one, you don't want to be introducing it. You have to get rid of it.
You have to get rid of it.
So they can go straight into these kind of sippy cups and free flow mugs.
Just a free flow cup, you know, and that really, really good for development of the jaw and for speech and language development as well. And often breastfed babies do really well with those, because sucking on a bottle is very different to, you know, feeding from a breast. So but they tend to have quite good control. So either just a free flow basic cup, or I don't know if you've seen like the Doidy cups, which are like a slanted cup, which have got like a lid, but no lid, but they're slanted. And as you tip it, then obviously the liquid,
to see the liquid, isn't it?
It's easier to see it, so they don't sort of just tip up the cup and pour it all over themselves. They're quite good as well, I think, to introduce.
You can give them for practice, you know, as you start introducing solids at 6 months. They can have a cup or a free flow thing just with a little bit of water in it, or a little bit of breast milk, and they can be starting to practice and, you know, feel like they're grown up with their cups alongside their meals. That's no problem at all.
Definitely. Just milk or you know, your milk or water is absolutely perfect.
And another reason for the no bottles later on, and why we want to get rid of them by 12 months, is that we know that if they're having to suck milk in from a teat, that it then flows past the teeth. So more chances of decay. And again, that's something we get asked about a lot, isn't it? If I breastfeed at night, will my child's teeth rot?
Exactly. And I think it's not helped by things in the media really as well, is it? You often hear, or you might visit to the dentist, and sometimes, you know, we've had reports of the dentist saying, oh no, you know, shouldn't be breastfeeding now, you know, got to be really careful with the dental caries and things. But actually, you know, why would something biologically normal cause damage to our teeth?
And it's something to do with the, you know, there's a big difference between the bottle sucking and the breast. So when you're sucking from the breast, the milk is going right to the back, you know.
That's it. It's going nowhere near the near the teeth.
Whereas milk that's taken in either from a cup or a bottle is kind of pooling behind the teeth at the front sometimes before it's swallowed. And then milk is quite high in sugar. Obviously not like cane sugar, but it are quite high in sugar, and that's what causes the issue sometimes.
And also sometimes in terms of bottles, you know, some people would like to put some, for example, juice in a bottle, which is
Yeah.
that is and need to be avoid really.
Yeah,
because
definitely.
it will cause
Yeah.
tooth decay because of it's the pool of juice inside the mouth, especially
Yeah,
when the child's
definitely.
sleeping.
Yeah. Just
absolutely.
milk or water is absolutely the best thing, isn't it, for
Mm-hmm.
healthiest thing, and for the health of the teeth as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, that's great. All right, I'm just having a quick look down to see if there was what else there was that people have been asking about. I think it's worth touching on positioning for older babies. So with the the teeny tinies and things, we look at the mother-led positions, the baby-led positions, or the mother-led positions, and quite often people are using like a cross cradle or something with the younger babies. And then as they start to get older and older, they're like, well, but it's making my arm ache, I can't be in that position anymore, or they won't stay there, they're getting really
trying
fussy.
to support this big baby.
So what would you suggest for that, Zurina? Positions.
I normally because when there are 6 months or more, probably say 7 months old baby, they know what they want.
Oh yeah.
Yes, and then sometimes it's a challenge for moms who are wearing like Islamic, like a traditional Islamic dress, because we try to be discreet, and then they like to just So I found that it's normally at that stage, like for Muslim women, is trying to stay modest, not the way that positioning itself, but I find it the how we're trying to be discreet while feeding.
So and children have different ideas.
Yes. How you Laura and Claire, how do you find when you're helping moms who are having a challenge like that?
I definitely look a lot at having them sat a lot more upright.
Definitely.
Angle it down a bit. So it's kind of sitting on the knee, that kind of thing, so that they can have a look around the room. Obviously not reversing the head all the way around. have a look around the room, and then a bit of a snack, and then a look around the room, and then a bit of a snack. And it's just,
I think they very much at that age know exactly what they want and how they're going to get it. And sometimes this is where the manners comes in, because they will clamber up you and just self-attach and pull your nipples and pop on and off, and
the joy.
It's perfectly normal. I think I don't think you can particularly put them in any position at that stage. I think they just decide how they best like to get the milk, and we call it like toddler gymnastics, don't we? I know that's what we see in my household anyway. So I don't think you can hold them like a younger baby. I think they just
if moms who are living with a multi-generational family, sometimes it's quite a challenge, because if you're sitting on a like used to be your favorite chair, and then they see you sitting there and they say, oh, this is time. So I think it sometimes it can be a challenge if you find it you want to be discreet, and then you want to be kind of like private. So possibly having a designated area where you can be be comfortable feeding, or having a shawl that having a bigger shawl
comes
so
across.
That probably that you can train that from that from about 4 or 5 months old, so that that they're having the anticipation that they will get quite energetic when they they know what they want.
That's it, and they will just move the shawl and pop on and pop off and look round, and you can end up squirting milk everywhere, and it can all get a bit messy. So I think that's a really good idea, having if if it's something that, you know, you want to be, if you want to be, you know, discreet, then having that sort of separate place to feed, if you are living in that sort of multi-generational house, I guess, you know, I suppose that can be quite difficult, can't it?
And then I think it's having a support from your husband to say that, okay, we are planning to do this. So having that support in terms of having you know, the child's needs and your needs to be supported in terms of having a longer breastfeeding relationship. I think that would be very, very useful.
And people often start to get worried about the comments, don't they? And kind of pressure from lots of people, I think people find. And it's a tricky one, because actually they quite often feed only at home as they get much older. So people don't see it out and about. So you don't realise how many people are actually following the guidelines and doing this. But there's a lot of people out there. I feel that there's more and more who are just going with it and going, yeah, this is great, we'll carry on.
I think there are, I certainly think they are. And I think once you start, and like you said, you know, you might have this goal of 6 months or a year, and then the longer you do it, the more, you know, it's growing your relationship. You've got that, you know, intense, intimate relationship, which breastfeeding is just absolutely a part of that. And to take, as a mother, to take that away, it's really actually really difficult, to actually, you know, stop breastfeeding if that's what you choose to do, because you feel like you're taking something that your child enjoys so much away from them, and nobody wants to upset their child. And I guess this is where the sort of mother-led weaning, if you like, weaning as in stopping breastfeeding, not as in introducing food. You know, there's mother-led weaning, isn't there? And then there's child-led weaning, or sometimes people call it like natural term, different terms, isn't it, for it? Natural term breastfeeding. So allowing the child to stop breastfeeding when they're ready to, really. And that can be, you know, some children are breastfeeding, aren't they, at 4, 5, 6? It can go on much longer, you know, than
so the average the average for our species is sort of between 4 and 7 years, isn't it, as a biological norm? So we're getting there, I think. Not so much in this country, but it is improving.
I think so. I think, like I said, once you start, I think people, you know, you've got that relationship, and it's sort of, if you like, you know, it's something that you carry on because it's actually becomes very important to you as well as your child, really.
There are people, you know, that there are situations in which you might want to stop, and if you're in that situation, then we talk about doing it very gently for both of you. So
definitely
your body needs to adjust, and your child needs to adjust, and it's just doing it as slowly and gently as you can to allow everything, because you risk getting mastitis at that stage if you suddenly stop. Also, it can be quite traumatic.
That's it. I think they say, like, weaning gently and with love, I think the term is, isn't it? So, and that's okay, you know, if your breastfeeding journey has come to an end and that's your decision, that's absolutely okay as well, you know, and it's being comfortable with that.
Especially if you found out like you are pregnant, and and then it can sometimes some moms find it quite challenging to have you know, to continue breastfeeding and being pregnant. Because certainly in my situation in the past, that happened, and I found night feeding was really challenging. So I think if I find it's useful if the partner you know, help out as well during those transition period, where if you want to drop breastfeeding at night, or just introducing like one you know, before going to bed, and also when you wake up, and then I have 1 or 2 breastfeeding during the day. I think it's having it spaced out would be really useful, because I know
Yeah.
that you know, mom keeps asking whether how is it safe? Is it safe if I you know, doing that feeding while
Yeah.
breastfeeding?
Yeah.
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 So is it safe to be pregnant and to continue to
Yes,
breastfeed? Yeah.
yes.
And
Yeah.
it is, isn't it? You can, if
Yeah.
it's your choice, you absolutely can continue all the way through. So come on then, guys. What happens to your milk while you're pregnant? What goes on there?
Definite change in hormone levels, and sometimes, like what we spoke about before, you can get that aversion sometimes because of the changes, really.
Yeah.
But your body's
Well,
going to prepare, isn't it, for
don't they?
the what? Sorry,
Your boobs change quite a lot. So I know when I was
you
pregnant,
do.
my boobs got so tender.
Yeah, and you know, and then to have a baby, a toddler or baby feed from those boobs, sometimes that can, sort of thingy on the sort of aversion, can't it?
Yeah.
Sort of amplify it. But I think also just sometimes, you know, you're tired as well when you're pregnant, so there's all those other added factors in, as well as the sort of hormonal changes, aren't there?
Yeah.
Your baby, you know, your body is preparing for a new child and going through the process of getting ready to feed your new baby. So it's so clever, isn't it? Because actually, by the time, you know, you deliver, well, your breast milk's going to change sort of all the way through, but when you deliver, your breast milk is going to be perfect for your new baby.
Yeah.
And you're going to get that colostrum and your milk sort of coming in. And so it's really, your bodies are amazing, really, aren't they? Because you might be feeding a toddler, but your body is going to provide the milk suitable for that newborn baby. And sometimes toddlers can be off a bit put off by the change in the taste of the milk. Sometimes that's a point when they wean, because they're like, oh, this doesn't taste like it.
And the volume decreases as well, doesn't it?
Yeah. And yeah, definitely. And it's sometimes they're trying to feed and nothing's coming, so they don't feel like they can get quite frustrated, really, or upset. Yeah.
But it is totally possible to, you know, continue feeding. Your body will prepare for the new baby and it'll be there absolutely ready. And we say that when the new baby arrives, look at feeding that baby first, and then letting the older child have the kind of second helpings after. But your body will support that totally.
And sometimes the milk comes in a bit quicker because the toddler's feeding, so you're getting that sort of hormonal response. Great for breast milk supply, because you've got that sort of double sort of tandem feeding, if you like, or double sort of
stimulation.
Request.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, that's great. Well, I think that's probably enough of us waffling on for one evening.
No, we could talk about all night about breastfeeding.
I know, we could just stay.
It's been really nice. It's been really good to
I'm just
meet up like this.
To see if there's any more questions. I don't think there's been anything else that anybody's asked. But if you have got any questions, you know, leading on from this, stick them in the comments underneath and we'll get back to you. And if you like it and you want another one, let us know, because it's been great. I love spending time with you guys.
Yes, I love that. Yes,
me too.
I
really enjoyed it.
Flowing. Yeah.
Okay, so we'll just say goodbye then, and I'll stop the live stream. So bye everybody.
Bye.
Goodbye.